When you walk into a bike shop, the vast majority of the bikes you'll see are ready to ride, with wheels, brakes, and a drivetrain ready for you to pedal. And while a complete bike like this is what most buyers are after, some people are actually looking to get just the frame. The frame's the core structure of any bike, and not just in the literal sense, because it's what everything is connected to. Your frame design determines how the whole bike is going to ride. I built a few bikes from the frame up over the years, and as someone who enjoys working with my hands, it's a really fun experience that I always look forward to. It's not all sunshine and rainbows though. So in this video, I'm going to discuss the pros and cons to building a custom bike from the frame up. One of the most common reasons someone starts from the frame is because they want to choose their own parts. Bike companies usually only put out a few different build options for each model, and if you don't like the combination of components used, you're kind of out of luck. Sometimes a build might be close enough that you can get away with just replacing the one or two things you might not like, but that's not always the case. Personally, I'm not someone who has major component preferences. Not to say I can't tell the difference between different brands and spec levels, but some people are just ultra sensitive and have some major brand loyalty. For them, dropping a ton of money on a bike that doesn't shift or brake the exact way that they want can be a total deal breaker. By starting with the frame and buying all of the components individually, they can end up with the elusive dream build of a bike. As I said, I'm not a stickler when it comes to components, so why have I built up my own bike? One of the reasons is that over the years, I've found myself with a big old bin of perfectly good parts that I've taken off a bike here and a bike there. At one point, I even realized that the only thing I was missing was the frame. So soon after, I found an old Surly Karate Monkey frame, and suddenly I had myself another mountain bike. If you've been biking for a while and have swapped parts out over the years for one reason or another, you may find yourself in the same boat. It's great to have a parts bin, but I personally rather have those parts be getting dirty on a spare bike instead of just collecting dust in the garage. Assuming you decide to do the work yourself, building a bike up is the fastest way to learn how to maintain and fix your bike yourself. You're putting the fork on, you're sizing the chain, adjusting the derailleur, and bleeding the brakes all by yourself. Those are all things you have to do as part of basic maintenance, so doing them in the initial build is just a chance to practice. I have a whole video on why you should be your own bike mechanic, so go check that out for more of those benefits. But one last point on this topic is that not only does a frame-up build require the actual mechanic work, but it'll also teach you what each part is called. Don't know what a headset is? You'll learn real quick when you build up your own bike. The final pro I'll mention is that there's no better way to have a custom, one-of-a-kind bike than to do a frame-up build. Not only will you have a unique blend of components, but some brands actually sell custom paint schemes that come as frame-only options. So if you're someone who really likes to stand out on the trail, this might be one of your best ways to do so. Outside of the aesthetics, there are also many smaller brands and custom frame builders out there that only sell frames. These people are designing and building unique and niche bikes and would rather focus on that instead of trying to constantly source parts. If you're wanting something hand-built or different than what's being mass-produced, then a custom build might be your only option. Unlike bike manufacturers, bulk discounts and wholesale pricing on parts shockingly doesn't apply to that one person at home building up a single bike. That means if you're going to do a custom build, you're probably going to pay a higher price because you're buying components at full retail. This was really evident for me when I built up my fat bike. I knew I really wanted the RSD Mayer, and I would have been perfectly happy with any of the builds that they had listed. Supply chain issues, though, meant that the complete bike builds weren't even going to be available for whole months after the frame itself was available. I didn't want to wait, so I ordered the frame and began ordering the parts that would fit. When I totaled everything up afterward, I found that I had spent over $600 more than I would have if I had just ordered the complete bike. Do I regret the route I went? No. I love what I ended up with, and I'm glad I didn't have to wait, but it is something you need to keep in mind. In the case of my fat bike, the quickest way to get out and riding was to go for the frame first, but that's not usually the case. Typically, a custom build actually takes more time because you have to figure out every single part you need and want, order the right ones, and then wait for your parts pile to gather. I've found the hardest part of this is ensuring I just have the correct parts because bike standards seem to be anything but standard. You might be surprised how much time is spent scouring the internet for spec sheets and part numbers, but it's a vital part of the process. If you go for a complete bike, on the other hand, it can easily be less than an hour from purchase to first ride. The last downside I'll talk about is uncommon, but something that we all hate to deal with: warranty claims. When you buy a complete bike, you're usually dealing with both a local bike shop and some sort of significant bike brand. This helps you in two ways when it comes to dealing with parts that fail under warranty. First, you're usually able to go to the brand that makes the bike and work through them in some way to get things handled. If they didn't make the component that failed, you might have to go to someone else, but at least you have a history of when and where that part came from. The second way it's easier on a complete bike is that you've now established a relationship with your local bike shop through that bike purchase. When things go wrong, good shops are more than willing to stand up for their customers and do whatever they can to make sure things are made right. If your custom build has parts from all over the place, then you better keep all those receipts and know who to reach out to if something breaks. Custom bike builds aren't for everyone, and in my opinion, not even for every bike. Of my current stable of bikes, some were complete builds and others I built up myself. I was perfectly content with the complete build of my Timberjack and decided I'd just rather upgrade things as I saw a need. My RSD, on the other hand, ended up being one I put together myself due to time constraints and partially because I just like working on bikes anyway. Building a bike from the frame up can seem like a massive undertaking, but it's a really rewarding and fun process. Sure, there are some real downsides, but I think they're worth overlooking at least once in a cyclist's life, even if it's just for the experience itself. So what do you think? Is a custom frame up build the best way to go, or are complete bikes where it's at? Let me know down in the comments. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and if you did, be sure to like and share it with your friends. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.